Yo, what's good YouTube? It's boardzy, and this is going to be a review of the LAMZU Atlantis, a mouse that really came out of nowhere and is, in my opinion, a top mouse on the market. It's coming in at the weight of 56 grams, has a 3395 sensor, and is a very similar shape to the XM1. And obviously the XM2W has just been delayed forever, so if you're into that style of shape, this is definitely something to look into because it is coming in at the price of $90, which is just extremely reasonable for what the mouse is, especially when you consider the fact that they throw in a set of glass mouse skates into the box as well for free. So just really a mouse that caught me by surprise. First thing I'm going to talk about is build quality, because when a new company enters the scene, you really got to see, like, how are their mice put together, because you can get a mouse light, but if it doesn't feel solid, it doesn't really matter, and this honestly does feel extremely solid. No amounts of side flexing, really. The clicks are very well tensioned as well with the Huano blue shell pink dot switches. No rattling, no creaking, really all around it's solid. When I got the mouse, I was slightly concerned about the base, like if that would lead to any quality issues like creaking, and it's not really an issue. There is some slight bottom flex when I press at the top, but that doesn't translate to any like actual issues in use of the mouse. As you can see, there's a power button up here and then a DPI button with an LED indicator next to it. The only quality issue I would say that I have on the Atlantis is just a lot of post-travel with the side buttons. You can see this is where it activates, and then you can press it pretty far into the shell. It's not a game-breaking issue, and it is a batch one copy, so I'm sure it will be fixed, but I noticed like sometimes if I press the button down into the shell, it will take a bit more time to rebound, and that will throw me off. So that is definitely the one issue I've had quality-wise with the mouse. In terms of the main clicks, the Huano blue shell pink dots are some of the best tension switches I've felt on a mouse. They're premium, but still very spammable. The Kales on the XM1R definitely do have a very crisp, sharp, premium feeling, but they are on the heavier side. I still find them usable personally, but the Atlantis has clicks that are slightly lighter and just going to be a very good experience overall. No issues here with pre or post travel. There is a slight amount of post travel, but that's good for giving the clicks a bouncy feeling, and no noticeable issues with pre-travel. So yeah, definitely very nice premium feeling and sounding clicks. They have a nice tactile response compared to something like the Omrons on the GPX, but it's not going to be quite as sharp as the XM1R, but they of course will be more spammable. One thing to note though is that by default the mouse is on 12 ms debounce time, so you definitely will want to go into the software and lower that. The side buttons I did mention have that post-travel issue, but aside from that, they do have a very like sharp and tactile feeling for a side button switch, which are usually either mushy or just not as tactile as a main click, but these definitely have tactility to them. They are somewhat stiff feeling and on the medium actuation force side, not the lightest and most spammable side buttons. One thing you can notice about the design of the side buttons is that towards the top they're very flush with the mouse, and then towards the center they become higher profile, which makes them easier to access. So all around, I would say that these side buttons definitely pass the test. Not the #1 side buttons for like spamming to build in Fortnite, but definitely passable, especially if you are used to the XM1 side button implementation. Now I'm going to talk about the stuff that I presume most people care about, the weight and the shape. But coming in at 55 grams, being a slightly modified version of the XM1R shape, one thing that you will notice is that the hump is not quite as far back on the mouse as the XM1R is. So the XM1 will feel more aggressive in a deeper part of your palm than the Atlantis. So even though shapes are not one-to-one clones, if you've ever used an XM1R, the Atlantis will feel extremely similar in hand. You can see that the hump is more centered and it does slope down more towards the end versus the XM1R. So if you ever felt the XM1R was like too wide at the back, too bulky in your palm, the Atlantis is still going to have nearly the same flare out towards the bottom of the mouse, but it just won't feel quite as bulky and high profile in your hand. Finger placement is really good. You have a lot of room to do whatever you want on the right side of the mouse. This mouse even feels solid for fingertip. If you fingertip the XM1, it's going to feel like 99% similar. You can see I'm quite literally just using the exact same grip on both of these mice and getting the same amounts of contact, but of course the Atlantis is going to be around 15 grams lighter, just better balancing. It's going to feel better in the hand in general, metal. So it's really hard to not find a mouse like this to just be super impressive, having a solid shell coming in at a very good weight for a mouse that is obviously on the medium to large size. Honestly, this is not a large mouse, but mice are just getting so small nowadays that it's on the larger side. I'll show it compared to like a Pulsar X2 or something, so you can see that it's definitely a step up in width. This is an X2 medium. Compared to the GPX, the Atlantis is going to be wider as well, but it's also a shorter and lower profile mouse. And one last difference between the Atlantis and the XM1R is going to be how much the mouse flares out towards the top. The XM1R definitely curves out a bit more towards the top, which can make your finger placement just feel a bit off, mainly if you do grip towards the top of the mouse. But as you can see with the Atlantis, there is a very subtle flare out and it feels essentially flat towards the top. Just allowing for slightly better finger placement, I would say. Compared to the XM1, I do not have a strong shape preference between these two. I would say that I feel more locked in with the XM1R, but I'm not sure if that's just due to the coating rather than the shape. And what's really interesting to me is that the Atlantis is already out, and it is going to be lighter than what the XM2W is going to release at. So I'm not saying that this is going to be better than that mouse before it even arrives, but for what is available on the market right now, if you're looking for what is essentially a modified XM1 in wireless form, great switches, good weight, good wireless implementation. I didn't even mention that yet. It's a $33.95. There is a motion sync option in the software, and in my experience, the sensor implementation has been flawless. I don't have any issues with the tracking, LOD, motion latency, DPI deviation. The experience just feels very premium out of the box. Tracking felt especially good with the glass skates. Honestly, like, I'm not sure if they're exactly the same as Super Glides, but when I just rub my finger across them, they feel pretty damn similar. I'll bring out a more standard pad to just show off the glide of the glass skates. They also do provide standard PTFE skates in the box, which were extremely good as well. They felt very close to something like BTL or just Tiger Arc skates, and they do provide an extra set of those as well, so if you want to go back. But yeah, the free glass skates, the extra set of skates, you're getting a great value of a mouse for $90. Like, think about Glorious selling their like Model O, Model D Pro for $100 with a 3370. And I am just always happy to give credit where credit's due, and LAMZU gear out of beautiful sunny Shenzhen, China, has definitely cooked up a banger with this mouse. Before I mentioned the coating, it's not bad by any means, but it's not as good and rubberized as something like the XM1R Dark Frost coating or the GPX rubberized coating. It's not like bad and worth complaining about, but it's just not going to be as grippy as the top tier coatings on the market. The glass skates feel really good. I don't think that they're just like a novelty item. I think that they're absolutely usable, depending on the game you play. Maybe if you play Valorant and you don't want super low initial friction, don't go for them. I also can't speak to the long-term consistency. I have had these on for less than a week. But yeah, out of the box, this mouse is just feeling spectacular. Only a few more things to cover. One of them is battery and like battery life. Obviously, it charges with USB-C. I've been using the mouse for over a week. I charged it the first day I got it, and since then, there's been no indication that the battery's low. The mouse has not died, so it seems like they've like tuned the power saving settings pretty well. Because it seems like in general, battery life on 3395s lasts around a week or two, so it's definitely in that range. One final thing to mention is the scroll wheel. You can see it has this little pattern on it. Yeah, like these little waves. It's a pretty light wheel, sort of heavy to activate the middle click. That's something I noticed because I use it for a ping in game. But all around, the steps are defined. It's a light wheel, not bad at all, but doesn't feel super like notchy. So yeah, that's going to be all for my review of the LAMZU Atlantis. Definitely going to be giving it the seal of approval. And when I got this mouse, I just felt it in my hand. I was like, whoa, this thing just feels next level. I don't really know who is behind LAMZU. It just seems like a company that popped out of nowhere. But what I do know is that they know how to make a mouse. So this is something I will be recommending to people with medium to large hands who play claw grip. If you're looking for a shape that is basically closer to the XM1 than the GPX, that's where I would recommend it. It's a completely different mouse than the Pulsar X2, but I will make a comparison to that in the future as well, because I do think they are similar, like spec and just place in the market wise. But yeah, as I mentioned, this mouse is $90. I'll put up a list of retailers. If you're in the US, it's available at Addis Inc. I don't think they're in stock at the moment, but I heard there's going to be a restock around September 15th, and if the quality in the retail batches is anywhere close to as good as it is on my copy, I think that this mouse is going to be a lot of people's mains. And yeah, that's going to be all for this video. As I've been saying, I was just much taken aback by the overall experience of this mouse. Even just the unboxing is premium for it. And I did just realize while recording this video that the Queen of England did die, so let's get a rest in peace for her in the comment section below. And I think that's going to be all for the video. If you have any other questions about the mouse, just let me know. Make sure to like and sub as well, and peace.